Welcome back to Fox Explainer. Today I am going to show you an American prison thriller movie from 1979 called Escape from Alcatraz. Spoilers ahead. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Watch out and take care. The story takes place in 1960. As it rains in San Francisco, Frank Morris is helped onto a boat that will take him to where he will live for the next few years. As he is brought into Alcatraz prison, a light shines on the path. From the rain, Frank and some guards come in. When a doctor walks in, he tells Frank to take off his clothes so he can look at him. Then, Frank is led through the jail and put in his cell. The guard makes him feel welcome on Alcatraz. The guards walk around the cell block the next morning. After the cells are checked, the doors are opened and the prisoners go to the dining hall. A man named English tells Frank to put his shirt on straight. Breakfast is served to the prisoners, and Frank sits down at a table. He wants to know why they only have spoons to eat with and not forks. As he looks across the hall, a man named Wolf stares at him and eats his pasta in a suggestive way. Frank loses his appetite, so he gives his pasta to the old man sitting next to him. His name is Litmus. The old man takes it and gives some of it to a mouse sitting on his knee. Wolf is still staring and burning a match when Frank looks over. Later, someone opens Frank's door and takes him to see the warden. He is told that people go to prison if they don't follow the rules of society. But if he doesn't follow the rules, he will be sent to Alcatraz. The inmates can only have 2 visitors per month. When asked who he wants, he says he can't think of anyone. The warden knows that the prisoner has gotten out of jail before, but no one has ever gotten out of Alcatraz and no one ever will. As Frank walks out, the warden cuts his nails and looks at his file, which says that Frank has a high IQ. Back in his cell, Frank looks through a Bible before taking a shower with the other prisoners. Litmus is bathing his mouse. Wolf approaches and washes next to Frank. Frank tells him that he has been transferred from Atlanta. Wolf tries to get friendly with Frank, but Frank responds by punching him in the stomach and feeding him a bar of soap. Later, Frank is sent to the library to work with English. English tells him to take a book cart to the cells. English explains that the inmates are not allowed in here. He tells Frank that 10 years ago, he was attacked by 2 men with knives and he managed to kill them. They were white, so he received 2 99-year sentences. Frank leaves with the book cart to D Block. As he walks down past the cells, the guard prevents him from going any further. He tells him that there are no lights in the cells down here. In the yard outside, an old man named Doc is painting a self-portrait. Frank asks him about the chrysanthemum flower he painted on his jacket, and he says that it represents something inside that they can't lock up. He tells Frank that because he hurt Wolf, he will now get hurt. Frank tries to walk up some steps where all of the black men are sitting. They try to stop him, but English tells them to let him go through. English explains that the higher you sit on the steps, the more important you are. Frank tries to leave, and English asks him if he didn't sit with him on the top step because he is scared or because he hates black men. Frank sits down and jokes that he hates black men. They talk about how no one has ever escaped from Alcatraz. English says that the bars are made of 6 smaller bars. The prison is built on a rock so he can't tunnel out. The rock is over a mile away from the city, and the water is so cold that Frank can't swim back to the mainland. There are 12 head counts every day. Just then, the bell rings and everyone goes back to their cells. Later, Frank is given a job in the carpentry shop. Litmus will also work there. He tells Frank that he steals glue so that he can sniff it to pass the time at night. He says that there is a way out through the ventilation shafts above the cells. Doc warns Frank that Wolf is coming toward him with a knife. Frank turns around and then they fight. A guard tries to help, but he gets grazed with the knife. More guards shoot at Wolf, and he is held down. He is then sent to D Block to sit there for a long time. Frank is then sent there, despite his protests. As they go in, Wolf threatens Frank again, and then he and Frank are both locked in dark cells. When the sun comes up, Frank is hosed down in his cell by a guard, who tells him that the warden doesn't like it when they fight. Time goes by, and Frank is eventually sent back to his own cell. He sees Litmus Mouse carrying an oat that says "Welcome home." A man named Charlie is in the cell next to Frank's. He says his name, and they go outside for some yard time. They run into Litmus, who makes fun of Charlie by saying that he is Al Capone. Doc says he is almost done painting a picture of the warden. As the warden walks through the cells, he drops his nail clippers in Doc's. He goes in to get them and looks at his paintings while he is there. He sees the picture of himself and doesn't find it funny. He tells the deputy warden that he can no longer paint. The guard takes away his tools, and Doc is upset because he can only paint. As the men are being taken to the workshop, a guard is practicing with a gun. Doc is upset, so Frank asks the guard to keep an eye on him. It doesn't matter to the guard. Back in his cell, Frank sees a cockroach get out through a hole in the floor, so he bends down to look at it. English shows up with the book cart and tells him that Doc cut off his fingers because the warden took away his painting privileges. At dinner, Frank makes it sound like the warden is to blame for Doc's accident. He sits with John and Clarence, two new people. At night, Frank gets out some nail clippers and starts to chip away at the concrete around the grill. When he hears a guard coming, he stops and puts them in the Bible. Frank and Charlie sat on the lower steps on Charlie's birthday. He tells Frank that he is in Alcatraz because he stole a car. He and English are asked to come inside because they have guests. His daughter is coming to see English, and his wife is coming to see Charlie. His mother only has a few months left to live, Charlie's wife tells him. Charlie tells Frank later in a cell that if he tries to escape, he wants to go with him. Frank tells everyone at dinner that he might have found a way out. He says that the walls are falling apart because of age, so in time they should be able to get out of the cell block. Getting it done at night will give them more time. Clarence can go to the barber shop and get hairs so that they can make dumb is that look real. John works in a clothing store, and he can use raincoats to make a raft and life jackets. Instead of going to San Francisco, they'll go to Angel Island. Charlie watches while Frank digs. He knows it will be hard because the clippers don't have a handle, so he steals a spoon from the dining hall while John distracts the guard. In the cell, he asks English to show him how to weld two pieces of metal together and then asks Litmus for a dime. He uses some simple tools to attach the clipper's blade to the spoon's handle. This makes things easier to do. When a guard walks up, Frank just has time to hide his work. He takes a wedge from the workshop to help get the grill off. It works, and he puts his head through to check. Charlie and the others all do the same job from their cells. They use magazines to make paper mache dummies and covers for the open grills. Charlie orders paint supplies that they use to paint the dummies' heads. One night, Frank does a dry run, and the guard is fooled by the dummy head in his bed. He finds that there are bars above that he can't reach, so the next time he goes, he takes John with him to give him a boost. He sees that there is a sealed shaft behind the bars. Later, he sees a desk fan and arranges to trade his desserts with Litmus for a drill bit and an extension cord from the workshop. He hides the fan in his accordion case and takes it back to the cell. With this equipment, he is able to make a drill to help him get through the shaft. As he tries to get through, a guard almost hears them, but he moves on without finding them. The guys plan to leave Tuesday night. They have a chrysanthemum on the table when they eat. The warden stomps on it, and Litmus has a heart attack because he is so angry. Frank gets down on one knee to help the dead person while the mouse runs away. He gets the flower from the warden. After that, English gives Frank the books he asked for, and the two of them shake hands. English says so long. Later, the warden checks out Frank's cell, but he doesn't find anything. He decides that Frank will change cells early on Tuesday. Wolf gets out of D Block on Monday after being there for 6 months, and he threatens Frank in the dining hall. Frank decides that instead, they should all leave tonight. Wolf walks up to Frank in the yard, but before he can do anything, English steps in and brings Wolf to the steps so they can talk. When the lights go out, the guys start to leave. Charlie tells them that he will join them later, and while the guard makes his rounds, he cries in his bed. The men squeeze through the bars and remove the shaft cover. The noise wakes up a guard, who checks with a searchlight but sees nothing. All three men climb onto the roof with the life rafts they have made. The others put on their life vests and climb down the walls. Clarence steers his life jacket, so they take them off so he doesn't do it again before they climb over a fence. Meanwhile, Charlie has followed, but she is too late and can't get to the bars. The guys reach the shore and start to blow up the raft. As the others leave, Charlie realizes he missed his chance. The next morning, the guard tries to wake Frank up by telling him that it's moving day. He suddenly realizes that Frank isn't there and sounds the alarm. English watches on while grinning. A helicopter searches for the people who got away. The warden comes out and talks to a policeman. He thinks that they may have drowned. As they search the island, he sees a chrysanthemum on the shore. Someone shows up to inform the warden that he has received an invitation to travel to Washington. The man speculates that they may have been successful given that they had a head start of 9.5 hours. According to the warden, they passed away as a result of drowning. The flower is cast into the water of the ocean. The prisoners were never located, and a year after that, the prison at Alcatraz was closed. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more and hit the like button to help me out, and also leave a comment if you want me to explain your favorite film. Until next time, take care.